Hey, it's Mike, your host of Craft Beer Storm. How are you today? It's Monday, so we interview someone in the craft beer world, also distilling world. We're getting into interviewing distillers, and this week we're going to go to Dirty Water Distillery, and they're in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Their stuff is not made with dirty water, I guess I just call it. But, yeah, we had Brenton Mackechnie. He's the head distiller there. They also have a brewery there, actually. He was telling me, Lama Nama Beer Labs. But we focused on the distillery on this podcast. But he's making some good stuff down there. So we are going to talk to him. Before we do that, hey, go on iTunes, give us a rating and a review, or any platform that you're on. Subscribe, a rating, a review. Click on those 5 stars. Everything will be okay. If you like what we're doing, yeah, I would appreciate it. It gets us up in the rankings. Just gets more people aware of what we're trying to do in terms of promoting local craft beer breweries and also local distilleries as well. There's a lot of local stuff coming on, and I think you're going to see a lot more distilleries popping up. But yeah, we had a great conversation with Brenton, so here we go. Hey, we have Brenton Mackechnie. He's the head distiller at Dirty Water Distillery. He's also the brewer at Lama Nama Beer Labs, which is on site as well. How you doing, Brenton?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, yeah. I'm doing good. And you guys are located in Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Yeah, right downtown Plymouth.
Yeah.
America's hometown distillery.
There's a lot of stuff going on in Plymouth these days. A lot of more breweries are opening, and I hear a lot of good stuff. I got to go visit you guys. I got to come down there.
Yeah, it is. There are 7 producers in Plymouth. 4 breweries, 2 wineries, and the distillery.
Wow. It's hopping. Got to come down. But I'm glad you made it on the podcast, and so let's start off with you and give me your story. How did you get started in the whole distilling and brewing process, and then maybe go into the distillery and the brewery and how that got set up, and maybe I'll let you go with
Sure.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I am a chemist, and the owner of the distillery is a physicist. So I joke with people, we need a biologist and the other sciences rounded out, but everything's math, so we've got that handled. So from a technical perspective, I started distilling back in college. Granted, that was just in the lab, everything legal. But it also ended up evolving into a what if, in a sense. I grew up in Vermont, and so heavy craft culture up there.
Right. And
wanting to dabble myself, in a sense, and just what can I do to make something that I enjoy. And so I forget how many years ago I started home brewing. Launched whole hog into that, just doing all grain right from the get-go. Again, had a feel for the math of it all. Definitely a lot of research. Don't want to go blind into anything. And did that for a while. And then a few years ago, I guess more than a few years ago at this point, back in 2014, I some moonlighting at one of the local Plymouth breweries that was starting up at that time. It was brewing out of a barn, and doing their scale up from there, which was a lot of fun. Thought that was going to be my breakout from working in pharmaceuticals. Didn't work out. Heard about the distillery opening up, and I wanted to do what they were doing, work with them. But at the time, I was thinking, no, they're totally out of my league. They're not going to want me. Mm-hmm. And then crossed paths with one of the founding partners, who has since left the company. But it was a town event, and where everybody for restaurants and producers were demoing, and walked up to him and said, "Hey, I'd love to work with you guys, do what you do. I'm in quality control. And he goes, yeah, everyone says they're in quality control, quotes included. I'm like, no, legit. I'm in quality control in pharmaceuticals. And everything turned around from there. And it just so happens that he and Pepe, the now sole owner of the distillery, were talking about bringing somebody in to apprentice. And knowing the idea of having a pharmaceutical background and having to deal with federal reporting and lots of rules and regulations was appealing and something that I was able to bring to the table, which was a lot of fun. And so that I crossed paths with them back end of 2014. And then that was January of 2015, I was doing Saturdays part-time, just playing around while I was still at my corporate job. And did that for a couple years, developed our single malt whiskey during that time, basically just doing Saturdays, and big hit. And then was able to make the full-time transition a little over 3 years ago now. And so now I get to play every day.
So you're doing actually what you want to do instead of the corporate thing.
Yeah, it's something that I enjoy, having a physical product for people to enjoy, versus what some other people enjoy of having a piece of paper to show for their day's work. Everybody has their desired elements. But yeah, for me, it's something a little more active.
You're preaching to the choir. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I'm a CPA, so I do. That's how I started. I was a CPA, and I got moved up to New England for a job, and then I opened a brewery.
There you go.
I had an idea, and I opened a brewery, and we were around for like 5 years. I'm trying to sell a location now, but I mean, to make something and then have like a lineup of beers, like we had 6 taps, and then everybody tried the beer, that I made with people who helped me. But they said, you know what, I don't taste anything on here I don't like. I love all of them. I'm like, that makes you feel great, instead of doing a spreadsheet and then putting it in a file somewhere.
Right.
So there you go. But that's cool.
Yeah, you get that creative outlet.
You get that creative outlet, yeah. Now, Pepe, you met him up. How'd you meet Pepe again? I guess Pepe was the one we introduced us, yeah.
Right. So Pepe, I met him when I interviewed.
Okay.
I guess if you can call it an interview, after that networking element at the town event. At that point, he and his brother-in-law, Steve, were the ones running the show.
Okay.
And it was Steve that I crossed paths with. Both great guys. And had a lot of fun taking care of stuff and developing things with both of them. And then Steve had other interests and decided to pass it along into our hands only.
All right, cool. And there you go. You never know, right? Where you're going to be.
Exactly.
But so I was looking at your spirits. It looks interesting. You have a Dirty Water Distillery. You also have a brewery there as well, right? You distill and you brew. Yep.
Similar mentalities in both.
Yeah.
To boil it down, pun intended, I suppose, into a single statement, we produce as consumers. So it's primarily the way that we would like things to be presented and created and seen on the shelves. We decided we wanted to portray ourselves that way too. And all the products. We feel that it has a sort of respect element and honesty to it. And surprisingly, people tend to identify with that.
Right. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, it's what you want, and you want a great product, and it shows. You have a lot of good. You have a lot of different products here too. I'm looking at your page, your spirits, and there was one recipe. I think it was like a Lithuanian honey liquor.
Yep.
And it was your grandfather's liquor.
Is the style name. That's Pepe's family recipe. His grandfather, at the end of World War II, left Lithuania to escape the Russian invasion, in a sense, or whatever was going on there, the military events. And so in his head, brought over the recipe, and they've been making it here since. And traditionally, it's made with basically Everclear, but then it has to sit for a year.
And
it sits for a year to mellow out.
Do you like barrel age it or something, or you just leave it?
No, but we are putting a little spin on it.
Okay.
As well as the other handful of distilleries producing this style in the States. We are producing it from a vodka that we make on site.
Okay.
So I take what's called grain neutral spirits, and which is basically Everclear. We just end up bringing it in bulk because we don't have a column still to create a neutral spirit. We've got a pot still to transfer flavors. But if we start with something that is halfway there, we're able to carbon filter it to remove some of the unpleasant elements and then redistill it and make our own selection of what volumes to keep and what to discard. So we're able to make a vodka that's purely our own, that is as smooth and clean as we like. And then that ends up getting mixed in with a mulled honey to create this product. And so we use local honey, some Massachusetts honey, and mull it with 8 spices and a couple citrus. And we get something that is 80 proof. It is an 80 proof liqueur, which with the amount of honey that's in it and the spicing that's in it, it's got a really nice deep flavor, and it's hard to tell that it's 80 proof, which is the reason why the name Valnis was chosen. Because in Lithuanian culture, Valnis is the devil. He's a miscreant. He's mischievous. He makes you do stupid stuff. Kind of like an 80 proof liqueur that you can't tell. And what's great about this product, especially being basically our flagship, is it's an incredible versatility. It's great on its own. I've had people come in, grab a bottle to pass around the campfire that night. Especially lately, I've had people coming in into our tap room and just wanting it on the rocks. And I've got some people who love it in cocktails. One of the local wineries loves pairing it with a few different of their wines. And there's some beers we have found that works great with cider, coffee. It's got that nice, it's basically, you take all the dark spices in your spice cabinet and it tastes like gingerbread or apple pie, pumpkin pie. It's got those nice elements, but it lends itself to year-round consumption, which is a lot of fun.
That's interesting. Sounds really good.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with it. And it actually ties into another product that we make as well.
Wow. And then to back up, the Everclear is kind of a base that you use for all your... Because I'm not a distiller, I'm a brewer, so you bring that in. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
So this neutral spirit that we bring in, as I said, we clean it up, distill it down to about 120 proof, so about 60% alcohol by volume.
Wow. And
from there, we will use it in that form for the liqueurs. So the honey liqueur, limoncello, and spiced cranberry liqueur. After carbon filtration, and right before distillation, to make the vodkas and the gins, we will then do a botanical food infusion. And then depending on the product, that either continues in the still or actually in some cases happens only in the still.
Wow. Yeah, and I see here you use some local cranberries too from Sandwich.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
It would
cool.
be sacrilege not to use Massachusetts cranberries.
I know, right? If you're in Massachusetts, they'd burn your place down. Right? You're nice. Yeah, we're using cranberries from like California, like the people with signs and picket your place. But
Yep.
and you use whiskey here too, and then you have we talked about this a little briefly before. The government makes you put flavored on your labels, like coffee flavored vodka, when it's kind of deceptive because there's like real coffee in there, right?
Exactly. So yeah, in my opinion, the label of flavored indicates, again, for me, that there is a syrup or an additive put into the mix after the vodka is produced.
It's kind of deceptive.
Whereas all of the raw materials to impart the flavors that we use are done before or during distillation, and they're done with food. So there's no sugar to it. A neat thing with the vodkas is that all of them, except for one, are clear because color doesn't evaporate. It stays with the wastewater that is left over at the end of the run.
Right.
The one vodka that has color to it is vanilla, and that's because there's a bean in the bottle. So that's going to impart some color to that one.
Oh,
but it's really fun to see people's reactions when they have, say, the coffee. And it's clear, so it doesn't look like it's much. But then you get that full coffee flavor and aroma.
Wow.
And again, using locally roasted coffee too. So it's right there in Plymouth, just a couple minutes drive up the road.
That's
Go and
cool.
pick that coffee up and bring it back fresh. Throw it in the still with that raw alcohol and boil it off.
That's awesome. But I see that you put a stamp on each one too. Like it says flavored vodka, but you also have a stamp on the bottom, like, made with coffee, or the bacon one.
Exactly.
Like, made with bacon. Make no mistake about it. We use it. Yeah. And you have horseradish, clementine, corn.
The corn, that's just the plain one. We ended up switching label ideas when we expanded distribution into Rhode Island to have a contiguous label scheme, so that would obviously make it easier for a customer to go into their favorite store and be able to say, okay, well, I know that brand, but I don't know that particular product. But I know the reliability, so let's pick that up and try it.
Right.
And we've even had there was a local restaurant that requested one of the vodkas, the cranberry.
Oh, cool.
That they were using some of the bigger, well-known companies' products that are artificially flavored. So those are flavored vodkas. And I said, well, I can't do that. I can do this and use fresh cranberries, soaked them, strained them, distilled it, and got something that tastes like the fruit, not like a juice cocktail, but like the real cranberry. And they went, that is the best we've ever had.
Wow.
This is going back on the menu.
That's
so
cool.
It's a lot of fun to not only get the individual customer reaction, but the more company, in a sense, reactions for the appreciation for using the local and using the real ingredients.
Oh yeah, that's what we kind of strive for on this podcast, just to make sure people know about what local breweries and distilleries using local products as well, and it's all about local. We try to promote local here. And
and you mentioned the whiskey earlier.
Yeah.
My single malt I make using Massachusetts grown and malted barley.
Wow, that's cool. Wow.
So we do enjoy supporting local.
That's great. And then where are you distributed? You have stores throughout the state, or how's it work?
We are distributed throughout Massachusetts. Some of the territory we handle ourselves. Most of the states just more out of our reach. So we do some contracted distributors for those extra regions, and then Rhode Island.
Okay,
we've got a great presence down in Rhode Island because we're still considered local down there, which is awesome.
That's great. And I guess you have a
And then there's
distributor
always
down
your-
there. Yeah, you have a distributor,
Yes.
or can you self-distribute? I don't think you can self-distribute out of the state.
We could.
Oh, really?
Apparently, Rhode Island would allow that.
Wow.
And Massachusetts, to my knowledge and recollection, I should say, is just, okay, report it. All based on taxation and everybody getting the dollar that they are owed. But just for ease of execution, going through a distributor down there so that they can warehouse materials and they've got a better handle on all the restaurants and stores down there already. So we don't have to rebuild the wheel or reinvent the wheel, as the phrase is.
Yeah. But
we still get to go down and help out. So they're very receptive to that, which is a lot of fun.
That's great. No, it's a local thing, so it's good. And, what do you see like challenges in the distilling business? I mean, you probably have a lot of competition from the larger distilleries, or do you see a lot more smaller distilleries popping up, or what do you see?
There are actually quite a few smaller distilleries popping up because it is the next wave in the small scale movement. I mean, as you know, with the breweries, those have been popping up for decades. And distillation has been seen as sort of this mystical art, that it's magic. No idea how it works. And so it's a little daunting, and people are getting a little more adventurous at this point. I've had requests to shadow, people to come in and shadow to get a little more experience about how things work and different strategies, because they're opening up establishments in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And that's one of the things that, even though they would then become, to an extent, a competitor, we still have that camaraderie. So we do have a Massachusetts Distillers Alliance.
Oh, great.
And so we've got some of the big names and the heavier hitters in Massachusetts that we're friends with, even though they could be considered, or we both could be considered competition. But one of the great things is that even though we produce similar styles for some overlaps, there is enough unique take that it just helps variety. And then with respect to the big name producers, we haven't been targeted specifically by them, our idea isn't to take them on because their pockets are so much deeper than ours.
Yeah.
So there's really no point. Plus, they've pretty much cornered the market on whatever products and presentations they're putting out. So it's really that honest presentation is how we strive to set ourselves apart and win people over. And what's great is I've had people come in and go, I used to drink this and such a brand, but I switched over because personally I think yours is better. Or it's because you're local, and end up getting a better community value instead of just buying something that's cheaper.
Right.
So that's one of the wonderful things that we've got people coming in, and we've got people driving up from out of state just to come to us, and which is impressive. We never thought that we would be a destination. It was just an idea. The main idea was, okay, well, we're in a great tourist area, and so we're going to be able to benefit from that. But being able to bring people into Plymouth so that other companies can benefit is kind of humbling.
Right. That's what they say, the rising tide lifts all ships. So it's kind of, you bring people in, they bring people in, and then you kind of refer each other to each other. And, but it's a collaboration, and it's probably the next wave. Well, it is the next wave, these smaller businesses that are popping up, distilleries, and the beer business. I mean, craft beer has slowly eroded, market share for the larger beer companies, like 1 percentage point a year, and it's like a $60 billion industry. So 1 percentage point is a lot of money to these guys.
Right.
So they're just kind of, what they're doing now is they're setting up these shell entities that don't have the large beer manufacturer's name in it, and they're buying these smaller breweries, and it appears that these smaller breweries are getting together, but it's really the largest breweries that are funding all this stuff. So
exactly,
it's you'll probably be seeing that going on in the distilling arena as you erode market share as well. It'd be interesting to see what happens.
It would be, it does make sense that would end up being on the horizon at some point.
Yeah, but people are trending towards local. I think the whole thing is farm to table, local, and you guys are local, and if you have a community around you that'll support you, I think you'll be fine.
Exactly,
and you have a tap
and
room
even
too.
Though,
yeah, mm-hmm.
yeah. So we're pulling in local for the tap room as well, to help out with our concoctions, because we can only serve the spirits that we produce, so we have to get a little more creative with how we present them. So, for example, some mixers that I bring in are made down in Rhode Island, small batch cocktail syrups, cocktail soda marinade syrups. So I do a Moscow Mule with one of them. It's a ginger cardamom lime syrup. And there's a classic tonic, citrus tonic syrup that I use to make a tonic soda instead of a tonic water for gin and tonic, vodka tonic, rum tonic. Can't remember if I'd had someone ask for a whiskey tonic, but it wouldn't be out of the question. There's an old-fashioned syrup that I use with my single malt. Some collaborations for whiskey that I do with local breweries too. Make a good old-fashioned with this syrup. And gin. A gin old-fashioned. I'd never heard of it until the owner of the company, Boot Black Brands, he said, "Hey, try this. And this one gin of yours would be excellent with this." And okay, yeah, it is. And my coffee vodka, same thing. I would never have thought to do it, but it worked out really well.
Wow.
And then he's got a cranberry jalapeno lime that works great in a tequila or a white rum, I found. With our white rum, it's amazing. So there's a lot of things we can play around with those syrups, and then just pulling in local and regional elements to try to play around and figure out some fun different cocktails to keep things mixed up. Different presentation, try to give people a different take on different spirits. Because I've had some people say, "Oh, I hate this style." Okay, why? Mm-hmm. Try it this way. Oh my God, I don't hate it.
I know, they have to try it. You have to just give it to them. Especially people see dark beer. I just did a podcast on it's the American style black ale, right? But it's you look at it as black, but when you taste it, it's very hoppy, because it's Americanized.
Right.
But it's like, you got to just taste it. It's dark, I know, but taste it. And they're like, "Oh, this is good." Or even stouts or porters. I'm like, "I don't like dark beer." Well, taste this, and you make them taste it, and they're like, "You know what? I like it." And then they buy a pint of it. So, you just got to get people.
Consumer unless you're educated.
No, you just got to tell people, just try it. You never know, and it could be their new favorite beer, right? So, there's many different styles, out there. But I know, and you barrel age, I guess, some stuff too. I see your rum, like your amber rum. So where do you get the barrels from?
So we also source regionally. I wish I could keep it all in New England, but when I was looking for a cooper, didn't find a cooper locally that, or in time, I should say. There was one idea that Plymouth Plantation was going to bring in a cooper to do demonstrations in their museum. And then it was, why not double team on this one? And we could contract him to make some barrels for us on site and then bring them up to our facility. But instead, I found a cooper out in New York.
Okay.
That great guy, and he's one of the few, if not the only, I don't know where it stands right now, that will come to the producer's home area and hand pick the trees.
Wow.
To get milled and then shipped to his facility to make the barrels for an uber local product.
That's so interesting. Wow.
Yeah. Something that I really want to take advantage of in the future, but it's definitely something to scale up to.
It's the local thing. Yeah. I mean, that sounds great, man. Wow.
Yeah. So for the rum, the amber rum, that 2/3 is done in those barrels, and then 1/3 for our base amber rum in a used bourbon barrel.
Okay. Where do you get those from?
And then those,
the used ones,
up to this point, came from few, but through a broker.
Okay.
So we're not to the scale yet that we're contacting other producers directly. We could get to that point. It'd be a lot of fun to do those connections. And then for the whiskeys, those are solely in the New Oak barrels.
You should contact Allagash because I got some barrels from them. I aged. They do the Curio. They get them from Jim Beam.
Yes.
And then they sell them. So I just throw 200-degree water in there, kill everything, and just dump it out, and it smells delicious. And then we age stuff in it, like stout, strong ales.
Yep.
It's just delicious. Takes on all the flavor. People love it.
Yep, I've had some of my barrels go to other breweries as well as home brewers.
Wow.
I've had a home vintner come in and take a barrel or two.
Wow. Man.
So, yeah,
barrel aging,
there's
anything you put in the barrel, right, it's delicious. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it seems very interesting what you're doing. You're using local ingredients. Distilling, I've never distilled, but I'm learning more and more about it as we move along and talking to individuals like you who know what they're doing. It seems very interesting, and I think it is an industry that is growing, the local distiller, and it's just... we call it craft beer storm, but I'm expanding into everything pretty much.
In a sense, you have to brew to be able to distill.
Exactly, right?
All whiskey is made from beer.
Yeah, right, it is. It all starts somewhere. You have to start at the same end, and it just goes in different directions. But you have to, extract from grain, that good stuff from grain, and then that's where you start. But
exactly.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having you on and taking the time to talk to us about your distillery and your brewery. If people wanted to get a hold of you and your distillery, where would they go? How do they get more information?
So website is dirtywaterdistillery.com. And on Facebook, Instagram, we're planning a bunch of fun stuff coming up, and everything that is to be released or teased or enjoyed, we definitely post and share, and come on into the facility, have a drink, whether it be a cocktail from Dirty Water or one of the assortment of beers we've got at Lama Nama Beer Labs at 10 Water Street in Plymouth.
That's cool. We really didn't get into Lama Nama. Maybe that's another podcast, but it was very interesting about the distillery, but I think you have best of both worlds there, and it sounds very interesting. That was
the idea.
I must come down and sample. I have to do a tour like of these. I'm talking to a lot of distilleries and breweries, and like, yeah, come on in. And I'm like, okay, I got to get like an Uber or something and just drive, just Uber around. Then I don't have to worry about anything, and then get a hotel room and just crash in a hotel room somewhere. Hey, I appreciate you being on, and Brenton, and I think you're doing a great thing using local ingredients, and you're a craftsman. You're making this awesome liquid that people are enjoying, and that's awesome, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks very much. We'll probably see you soon.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye. Yeah, that was Brenton Mackechnie. He's the head distiller of Dirty Water Distillery in Plymouth, Massachusetts, making a lot of good stuff. They're using local ingredients, which is awesome. In their offerings, they have a bog witch liquor, which is used with local cranberries. And if they didn't use the cranberries, we were laughing. Probably the people, like a mob, would go there and burn it down. But obviously, you have to use Massachusetts cranberries, and then they make older recipes, grandfather's liqueur, and cool stuff. Really good stuff from Dirty Water Distillery. And that's your podcast for today. If you like what we're doing, hey, go on iTunes, on any platform, give us a rating, review, subscribe. That's how we get up in the rankings. And we will be back to you on Wednesday with another beer style. So we'll talk to you soon. Take care.